Alrighty, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whenever you are. Welcome to a new DC live stream. My name is Matthew Battieri. I'm your host today, going through some Bitcoin and Ethereum technical analysis. I'm sure you all want to know, is the price going up? Is it going down? We've had an obviously good little rebound since we hit the value area low of the sideways range. So I'm going to cover everything that's just happened, try and predict what's going to happen in the future. So hopefully you can, get some insight on what the price is going to do. So before we get started, I'd like for you, if you're watching this live on this YouTube channel, make sure you like and subscribe, turn on notifications on this channel so you can keep up to date every time that we are going live. We're going live Monday to Friday and dropping some how-to videos over the weekend. So make sure you subscribe so you can watch all of our content, and please give us some feedback. We'd love to know what you guys think. On top of that, you can also drop me a comment during the stream, ask me any questions. I'm happy to read them and answer them for you. But without further ado, let's dive into the chart. So basically last week, what we saw Bitcoin do was hit 18,500, and it's obviously rebounded quite well over the past week to about 22,400 today. We're just on the weekly scale. We can clearly see that Bitcoin has now done or created what's called a double bottom pattern. This double bottom pattern is pretty well known. If you just YouTube double bottom patterns trading on Google, you'll see that usually this is a good indication that the asset that you're looking at probably has found a good bottom, and now it's going to sort of try and push to the upside because it's found support not once but twice at approximately the same trading level. So if we zoom into the daily level, we can clearly see that we've been sort of in this sideways range ever since the 14th of June. So that's basically June, July, August, September. The last 3 months, we've kind of gone sideways. So if we look at, and if we use the fixed range volume indicator, we can basically see that right now we're hovering just above the point of control of this entire sideways range. So what this indicator shows me is that the point of control, so the most amount of Bitcoin has been traded around 21,415. So we're about $300 above that. We have the value area high of this entire range, which is sitting at $22,502, and the value area low is sitting at $18,962. Now you can basically move this to what I like to do sometimes, which is the bottom wick, and you can see that the values sort of change ever so slightly. So we have a value area high of 22,600, which is always good to mark out. These values are super important because they will allow you to see some support and resistance. So I'm going to mark them out, and you can clearly see that most of the trading in this last 3 months has happened within these two lines. So I expect if we continue to pump to the upside, we'll find resistance around 22,600. And if we do come back down, you'll find that 18,700-ish is also support. Now, this number up here, if we do continue to the upside, does coincide with what is called a golden pocket. So utilizing the Fibonacci retracement tools, let me just use my magnet so I get these values spot on. We can clearly see that the golden pocket for the downwards movement that we've had since the 15th of August, we have a golden pocket here at 22,600 to 22,900. So I would like to see the price to come up here, just so one more push to the upside before we see a fair corrective measure. Bitcoin likes to react off these golden pockets. You'll tend to see it have reactions. Now, if I do drop this down to this spike right here instead, you can see that the price has already hit the golden pocket. It's always good to measure from different major spikes, especially when looking at price action, because some people would prefer to obviously play around with this. Most people will obviously go from a high to a low to draw these Fibonacci's out. But these, sort of major spike levels, especially because we had a drop here, and you can see on this day we then had a move to the upside. So this is considered another spot that you can obviously draw a Fibonacci retracement. But for the macro image, I'll just go back to the top. So if you're watching this video, feel free to mark down these two prices. And I think that Bitcoin should hopefully make one more push to the upside, hit these around about this value before having a more severe pullback. Now, if we do hit these values and we do get a pullback, where would I be looking? I'm going to take it just from the high of this range. Oops, the wrong way. We're going to start from the bottom. Always pull your Fibonacci's from the left to the right. I'm going to go to the high of the range. So I could see the price of Bitcoin sort of coming back down here to possibly 20,100. But if it doesn't, the next level that I'll be looking at is approximately here, 20,750. Now, why that level? Before possibly this golden pocket. Well, let's just see if we find another value around that price range. So we've got the 382 Fibonacci. That doesn't really line up with anything. So let me put the 0.5 Fib. Okay, perfect. Now, this 0.5 Fib is just like another support level. But what that would create for Bitcoin, if it comes up here, comes back down and then bounces, is it gives us an inverse head and shoulders, which is another sort of bullish pattern. If I just remove this squiggly line that I created, this inverse head and shoulders pattern would give us a price target. We always want to measure it from the neckline of the head and shoulders. I'm going to take a conservative approach for this measure. Is we can see that we should get a push back to the top side of this range, which is about $25,000. So there's still a fair bit of action that needs to occur for this to happen. But even if we do pull back from where we are now, I expect to hopefully see some support around 20,750 and then the golden pocket if we do break through. We might even just see like a quick wick. So it might come down here nice and slowly. We'll have a little bit of a bounce here. It doesn't hold. Bounce real quick, wick up, and then we continue to the upside of the range. So those are some possible scenarios to the upside. As I said, to the downside, basically the best support will be the golden pocket and then back down here to about 18,500. So that's where I'm looking for the price of Bitcoin and where it's going to go in the short term. Now, you probably read the title of this video and you saw, okay, Bitcoin could possibly hit $50,000 by the end of the year. So let me dive into this TA section that I really wanted to share with you guys. How did I come up with this number? So first of all, I'm going to bring up the Brave New Coin chart, which basically has the entire history of Bitcoin, as you can see, and I've shown this chart a couple of times on some of my live streams. So what I've basically done is I'm using the Fibonacci trend or Fibonacci time zone indicator. And what that's basically going to do, it's going to map out using the Fibonacci lines. So the 0.382, the 0.5, the 681, the 786, and the 1, and then also project into the future where we may see some time zones. So if I flick the first Fib time zone here, so this was back on the first bull run, we can see a couple of things. We can see that I've marked it out, by the way, as well, from the all-time high to the bear market bottom to then give me these Fibonacci extensions. Now, these extensions, funnily enough, land on some very important dates. So we can see that the 1.272 gave us a bit of a spike, or the high after we sort of broke this downward trend line. We came from here, we went to this, we went to the extension of 1.272, had a bit of a pullback. The 1.618 was basically the bottom. And then we broke out from this second trend line, which I spoke about these trend lines, I'm pretty sure, on the last technical analysis video. If not, it was on our live stream last Friday. So if you check out the DC live stream, you'll probably see that on Friday. But we can see that once we break this secondary trend line that is formed during Bitcoin, usually you'll have what's called like I guess a bit of a dead cat bounce for Bitcoin, or it's not really a dead cat bounce because I believe it's the start of the next bull run. But we can see that the 2.618 Fib extension and the actual price action hit the top of this trend line perfectly. We kind of then went sideways for a few more weeks. And then, I should say a few more months. And then we had the exponential rise with Bitcoin. So taking a quick snapshot, we can see that those values are quite important. Now, if I use and look at the trend-based fib for the following bull cycle, let's have a look if we see any correlation. So now that we see we've got a few lines, we can see that the 1.272 was still, I guess, at the bottom of the bull run. We can see we had a little bit of a spike, but nothing too big. It would have been nice if we had, like, I guess, this spike right here. That would have coincided with the previous bull run cycle. But like I said, history doesn't repeat, but it can rhyme. So we're going to look for areas where we can obviously see some correlation. If we look at the 1.618, the 1.618 was when Bitcoin had already broken this first downward trend line, which is basically the trend line that Bitcoin stays under during the bear market. You can see that this 1.618 is the start of, I guess, the bull run, you could say. And if we go back here to the first bull run, we can see that was pretty close to the bottom. That also did map out the start of the double bull run. The first bull run was basically a double bull run. We had this, this first peak. We created this double wave or this double sort of bull run, which a lot of people thought that this current bull run that we run, we were going to have a duplicate scenario of the first bull run. So the 1.618 here was basically the start of the major bull run. This one also is quite close. You can see that the 2.618 was when we broke the trend line. And look at that. The 2.618 is when we also broke this trend line right here from the 2014 to 2017 or 2018 bull run. Now, you're like, why did you draw this trend line and this trend line? Well, basically, not this bull run, but this bull run was very close to Bitcoin having or hitting the what's it called? The golden pocket. Okay, the golden pocket that we saw that I drew on the previous chart that we were looking at. I know things are looking a little bit funny, so let me just remove some of these lines so you can clearly see. So you can see if I measure a Fibonacci retracement from the all-time high to this low here, not this wick low, we had this golden pocket retracement. Now, we do this a few times over the last couple of bull runs. This is the second time. So all-time high to the low. You can see that we hit the golden pocket right here. So the 0.618, 0.66, we did the same thing here. We had a retracement. And right now, we are pretty much doing something quite similar. So I'm grabbing the all-time high to the spike low. I do believe that Bitcoin will make its way to about $50,000 before the end of the year. But let me continue back with the fib trend lines on why I think we're going to hit this before the end of the year. So let me remove these golden pockets that I just drew, and let me put the fib time zones back on. So this is the fib time zone for the previous bull market, not the one that we just finished, but the previous one. And let's look at things again. So we've got the 1.272 extension, which was also the breakout of this downward trend line. Okay, if we go back to the first one that I showed, we can see back here. Okay, was it this one? Yeah. Was it? Okay, so this one, we can see the 1.212 was after we broke the trend line. So there's not a whole lot of correlation on that one. If I go to the second one, got so many things to click right here. We can see that the where are we? There we go. That the 1.272 was very close to us breaking that trend line. It wasn't enough, but the 1.618 was. So right here, we broke the trend line. The 1.618 was the time that we also hit the golden pocket. The 1.618 was not when we hit the golden pocket here. It was more the 2.618. So I'm trying to find some correlation between previous bull markets and preceding bull markets to see if we can find a pattern in order to estimate where the next cycle high will be and also when the next cycle bottom will be. If I just quickly remove this, the last two fib zones, and we look at here, we can see that the 2.618 was when we broke that trend line, and the 4.618 basically landed on the bear market bottom, the current bottom that we are on, which I think is now very close to actually being the actual bottom. And this is what I'm going through today. I want to show you that with the fib times, that I think now I've probably changed my stance on 13,500 being the low, that we may have bottomed out because I'm seeing some similarities in the previous bull runs to this current bull run. So I want you to look at this 4.618 and this 2.618. I'm going to now remove these fib zone, and let's look at the previous fib zone. The 2.618 was the start of the bull run, much like the one that I just covered. And the 4.618 was basically the bottom of the last bear market in 2019. So 2 points of confluence, which is really good. If I go back to the previous one, we can see that the 2.618 was close enough to the breakout of this trend line, same as the two preceding ones that I just went through. And the 4.618 was the bottom of this double bull cycle pattern. So it wasn't this bottom right here that we were probably all thinking of, but it was basically a bear cycle. We did have a bit of a bear trend during this time. I mean, if we take a bit of a measurement, we were in a bear cycle for a good, 3 months right here. So this 4.618 and this 2.618 has a lot of correlation with the two preceding bull markets. So if I now draw a fib time zone on the current bull market, what can we see? We can see that the 1.272 has marked out the bottom, which is pretty close to the last couple of lines that I just created. The 1.618 is going to line up where we're going to be sort of commencing a pretty fast rise in the Bitcoin price. And that happens to also be on the 24th of October. So I'm expecting Bitcoin to either hit about $50,000 around about October or definitely before the end of the year. And that does also line up, as I mentioned, with the golden pocket. So what I believe is going to happen is Bitcoin's going to sort of have a rise here, maybe do a bit of a choppiness. It's going to break this trend line. It's going to have an exponential rise. Oh, I probably didn't get the timing right. Let me just sort of get this timing a little bit right. It's going to sort of zig and zag here. We're going to break this trend line. We're probably going to go pretty fast to about $50,000. We're going to have a significant sort of pullback over some time, maybe go some sideways. And then at the 2.618, this is the time, which is the 29th of May next year. This is where we're going to start the exponential rise of Bitcoin into the next bull market. So this is some stuff that I've sort of been looking at over the last sort of 48 hours using this fib time zone and also comparing it to the trend-based fib time zone, which I'm going to sort of cover now. So there's a lot of fibs, there's a lot of lines, and I know it can sometimes be confusing, but the same way that we use fibs for Fibonacci retracement, so for retracement in price, but also expansion of price, we can also utilize the same tool, but for a time variation. I've got a couple of comments, so let me quickly check them out. Okay, yeah, we just someone posting the links, one of my helpers, beautiful. I can see that they're helping me out. So let me just remove that because that's not super important. All right, so now that we've got a couple of dates lined up, so we've got the 29th of May and we have the 5th of August lined up, we're now going to use a trend-based fib extension to have a bit of a close look at a similar indicator to what we just used, but just slightly different, guys. So a trend-based fib indicator, basically you pull it the same way from an all-time high to a bear market bottom, and you can see that we have very similar lines, to what we sort of just discovered. On this trend-based fib, with the 382 basically pinpointed the local high of this sort of price range when we did sort of spike up from this breakout of this trend line. It basically also marked the bottom with the 0.618. The 0.1 sort of lines up with the 1.618 of the previous indicator. So let me bring out the previous indicator and overlay it. You can see there as I overlay, we've got lines that are quite similar. If I slightly move this indicator to the bottom, we can see that things are still quite similar, but I'm just going to try and use the same points of reference because then I'm sort of skewing the results. So we can see that this line right here, let me just remove that one. We can see that the 1.618 was very similar to the, let me remove that one and do that one, the 2.618 that we had on the fib time zones. So this is why I like to use both of these indicators, because I want to see correlation between one indicator and the next one that I use. If we move on to the next bull run, okay, where I've got these, I've got the first indicator, the fib time zone that I used, and then I overlay it with the other fib time zone, we're getting a little bit more accuracy now in correlation. So we can see that the 1.618 and the 0.618 here are exactly the same line. So let me show you the first one that I showed you a few minutes ago, right? So we have the 1.272 on the 4th of May, the 21st of September is the 1.618, and the 2.618 is the 7th of November. So let me turn that one off, turn that one on. So we can see right here, 21st of September, 22nd of June, and then about the 8th of August, we've got this line. And most importantly, this trend-based Fibonacci line basically hit the all-time high on the nail with the nail on the head at 2.618. All right, 2.618. Let me just turn on the other remaining trend lines. We can see that the 2.382 was close to the all-time high, even though it was the first peak and not the second peak, which is close enough. We can see the 1.618 was the breakout from the trend line. Guess what's here? 1.618 break from the trend line. Very important correlation. I'm looking for correlation, which is really good. So 1.618, 1.618, perfect. We've got the 0.68. We can see the 0.68 was the start of this exponential rise in 2015, but the 0.618 was the golden pocket fib retracement from the 20K all-time high to the $3,000 all-time low. So a bit of discrepancy here. But what I'm really liking is the 1.618 correlation between this one and this one. If I put it overlay right here, okay, we can see that on the first bull run, the 1.618 was very close to being this red candle here, which also was the candle that touched this trend line. Okay, so very close correlation here. Perfect correlation to this secondary bull run from 2016 to 2020. So if the 1.618 is the commencement of the exponential rise of Bitcoin for all-time highs, let's have a look at where the 1.618 is for this trend line. It would be the 29th of May 2013. That is why I believe that on that date, if I go predictions, I believe that on that date we should have the exponential bull run commences on the 29th of May 2023, and the bear market bottom, which was signaled by the 4.618, should be the 5th of August 2024. But between that time, I have a good feeling that Bitcoin is going to hit $50,000 before the end of the year because of the history of what it's shown with the fib time zone, the fib time zone that I went through, and the trend-based fib time zone. So there's correlation on this one, as you can see. Let me remove my predictions. So the 1.618, 29th of May, where's the 4 point? Did I move the 4 point? Let me just go that one. Where's the predictions? Okay, the 3.618 and the 4.618. So the 4.618 on the fib time zones right here is the 5th of August, and the 3.618 is the 5th of August. So a lot of correlation there between where I believe that the bear market will bear market bottom, where the bear market bottom will be. So between the exponential rise, which is usually about 3 months. So let me get my, where is it? No, can't find it. So I'm going to use this one instead. Bull markets, the exponential increase in bull markets usually lasts for about 3 months. So if we go from the 29th of May and we go 3 months, which is, why is that more than, it'll be more than 3 months, won't it? No, it'll be 3 months. So we'll go 3 months from there, which is 90 days. We'll have an approximate all-time high around about the 1st of September 2023. So between now and then, I believe that, Bitcoin will probably start commencing its bull run. I think we've spent enough time in a bear market, which is close to basically a year, which is very similar to previous bear markets. Let's have a look at what we've done so far. So we've been in this bear market for about 287 days. Let's look at history. This one was I guess if we're going, 350 to 400 days. This one right here was a little bit longer, 400 days from top to bottom. And this one was the double bear market. So this one was about 161 days. And then we had, I think I did this before, about 90 days. Yeah, 90 days. So things are kind of lining up right now, to see a bottom with Bitcoin. As I mentioned, we have a double bottom right here, which usually signifies a bottom. We had a double bottom here. If I move to the other later stages, we had a triple bottom back here in 2014. And then back here, we also had a double bottom. And then one more time here, we also had a double bottom. So there's a lot of things lining up. I was expecting Bitcoin to hit, as I mentioned in very old streams, about 13,500. Maybe it was a bit of hopium that I would get some cheaper Bitcoin. But it looks like that maybe now that I've done a little bit more analysis, I've done this trend-based fib time extension, that we probably have bottomed out. And now some of the key dates that we're looking at is obviously the break of this downward trend line. And then this green trend line that I've just created is just hypothetical, and it's based off the Fibonacci retracement of the golden pocket. I'm trying to line it up with the 1.618 fib time extension. There you go. So let me remove the prediction. So 1.618 lined it up with the golden pocket. This doesn't mean that we're not going to hit 50,000 before this date. I just think that the breakout of this trend line, which is the golden pocket, coincides with this 1.618, which has shown correlation in previous bull runs, to this being the spot and time where we're going to start to see exponential price action of Bitcoin. Because we always see, once we break this secondary trend line and we hit the 1.618, let me just put the 1.618 from this one. There we go, 1.618 right here. We broke the secondary trend line, exponential growth. Let me do the next one. Oops, I shouldn't have done that. Let me do the next one. So we'll go this one. Let me turn these off so it's not too confusing. Here we go. 1.618, broke the trend line. Right here, exponential growth with Bitcoin. Or did I just do that one? Let me do the next one. Right here, 1.618. Now this is just the outlier. As I said, it isn't the spot where we broke out from the trend line and had the exponential growth. That was the 2.38. But this was also basically the first Bitcoin bull run. So there wasn't enough data to probably get things completely correct. But we can see from this bear market scenario and this right here, we have 2 points of correlation. I like that. I like that there's 2 points of correlation, because that gives me great confidence that it could happen again, but only time will tell. So I'm sort of going out on a limb here, making some wild predictions, giving you some statistics, and also giving you past correlation on things that have happened, and sort of trying to predict the future. So I will leave these in a folder so I can go back and see them. I've named them predictions, so we can come back here at a future date, hopefully these dates, and see if I was spot on with my predictions. But I'll also probably put a couple of tags on this video so I can go back and actually watch this video if everything comes to fruition, and say that, I called the time of the breakout. So what I'm basically looking from here on in, if I turn on a couple of my other indicators on the original chart that I was using, Bitcoin is starting to see money flow on the weekly scale go from red, and looks like it's curving up to start breaking the green, which is going to be a very good cursor for exponential price increase. The stochastic RSI's crossed over bullish once again. We are coming back up to about overbought territory, but it should give us a nice enough pump that we should see some more upside. The MACD histogram has a nice green candle, which is great, and the moving averages are moving to the upside. and there's not much information to get from the RSI because we did not really get a bullish divergence. We did. No, I'm wrong, actually. I'm wrong. So what we can see from these 2 points right here is we got a lower low in price from the 11th of July 2022 week to the 5th of September. So a lower low in price. And if I take, let me just move this RSI into a better spot. There we go. So lower low in price. And if I take that same point here on the RSI, we can see, boom, right here, that we have a higher high on the RSI, which is a bullish divergence on the weekly scale. That makes me bullish. So I'm not saying that Bitcoin cannot go down again, because funny things can happen. We can have another world war being declared tomorrow or something like that. But on a technical standpoint, without going into fundamentals and news, Bitcoin is looking bullish. I said it, guys, Bitcoin is looking bullish. Now, this is why I have pretty good confidence that now Bitcoin should commence its run for the next few months, because if we look at history, once again, once a bear market is done, Bitcoin has a mid-cycle rally, you can call it. So we had the bear market, we had the first rally, we had the Corona dump, and then we had the exponential growth of Bitcoin. If we look at the previous bull run to the one previous to the one we just had, you can see that Bitcoin broke out of the trend line, had a good rally, little pullback, another good rally, and a pullback. I guess you can kind of, if we go to this one and you're like, yeah, this was one big one, you can kind of say that we had a rally here, had a little bit of a pullback here, and a secondary rally. Or you can even point out that this low here was also this low that we had from the COVID dump. Even though this collapse, there was a lot of external factors, news factors that had an effect on Bitcoin. If we did not have the Corona dump, I do not believe that this Darth Vader scam week would have ever occurred. I do believe we were just sort of chopped around here and then made our way up. But because of what happened with COVID, we had a black swan event. So this was caused by a black swan event. This was more like it, a break of the trend line, a very fast increase, break of the trend line, increase, boom. And if we see the same thing with Bitcoin, we're going to sort of hit, I believe, that 50K before the end of the year. And if we look at this one, once we broke that downward trend line, we had the double wave right here, wave 1, wave 2, we broke out. Wave 1, wave 2, broke out. Wave 1, wave 2, broke out. And now we just need to see a break of this trend line. We're going to see one wave, second wave, probably dotted along here, and then it's moon time. So yes, I think things are looking good for Bitcoin. I don't know what else to say, guys. I'm bullish on Bitcoin. I'm bullish on Bitcoin. Going out on a limb here, but I think my 13,500 prediction, which was the 0.85 fib retracement from bear market to all-time high, won't realize. The reason I came up with that prediction was because we retraced basically to Bitcoin retraced 85% on the last 3 bull runs, and therefore I thought that the same thing would occur. But as I've said, history does not repeat, but it rhymes. Now I'm trying to predict the future, looking at history, trying to predict the future. I could also be wrong. Hopefully I'm not wrong. Things are looking quite good on the weekly scale. Alrighty, let's move on. Let me quickly check the comments. To the moon, 20K support is 2. Yes, that's 50K. Yes, things are looking super bullish. All right, let's move on to Ethereum, because Ethereum did something quite good the other day. It broke back above this very important resistance of 17,280. Why was it resistance? Because back during the bull market, it acted as support 3 times. During the bear market, it acted as support 3 times. We then collapsed below it, and now we had a bit of a fake out above it, and we are now retesting it. We are technically slightly above it by a few dollars, but this is bullish. This is bullish, and I think that an interesting point that I'm going to be looking at is the fib retracement for Ethereum, around about $25,050 from this peak to this peak. And then there'll be a secondary retracement when we go from the all-time high to here, which lines up with that previous peak that I just took, which is at 3,400. So Ethereum and Bitcoin looking bullish. On a Ethereum BTC comparison, I can see, that bearish divergence played out. Let's have a look. Let me bring back on Market Cypher B. Invite only. Boom. There we go. Let me turn off the RSI. I can see that the money flow on the weekly scale for Ethereum has started to increase. Sorry, on the Bitcoin Ethereum ratio. So what this is telling me is that Ethereum will commence or continue to outperform Bitcoin as a percentage or as a gain or a loss, which it's basically done. So when Bitcoin had the drop the last couple of weeks, Ethereum stayed pretty stable, which is quite kind of good. So we saw the ratio of Ethereum to Bitcoin go from 0.078 the last time that I looked at this chart to 0.085. Right now it's sitting at 0.079, but I still think that Ethereum is looking to outperform Bitcoin in the long run during this next bull cycle. So those are some positive news to look at. I'm not going all in on either right now, not financial advice. I'm still being cautious. If it was a different bull run, I would probably start, going a little bit more, putting a lot more of my cash on the side into the market. The only reason I'm still being slightly hesitant is because of the macroeconomic factors going around the globe. High interest rates, people obviously having to close down businesses, things like that, energy crisis in Europe. I still want to make sure that I'm keeping cash reserves on the side just in case the bottom does fall out and we do have a catastrophic event. But for what I can clearly see with the technical analysis that I've done over the last 48 hours, because it took me a bit of time to look at that trend-based fib time that I showed you guys, things are kind of looking bullish. So that's just my perception right now. Take it with a grain of salt. Do your own research. But yeah, all I can say is things are looking good, and I'm pretty excited. I'm excited. The market looks like it's recovering, and hopefully we have bottomed out and we can nail those time predictions of when we're going to hit 50K and when we're going to sort of break out from the secondary trend line that Bitcoin will form. The secondary trend line that I did showcase on the BLX chart, this is going to change once we actually come up from where we are. Wherever we hit, I will be moving this trend line accordingly. This is just a prediction. Unlike the previous trend lines that I did draw out, this trend line here was obviously because of this peak, which also coincided with the 618 fib retracement. This was also the 618 fib retracement. So here we go from here to here. Okay, 618 fib retracement and the trend line perfectly perfectly fit, I should say. 618 fib retracement, trend line, and then we had obviously the first two bull runs, which were slightly outliers. It was a new asset, so probably things did not really line up. Let's have a look where we went here. You can see that this price action never got to the 618 fib retracement. Let me see if I go to a different peak. Okay, so if I take it from the lower peak here and not the all-time high, we can see that we did hit the 618 and the trend line at the same time. So look, patterns are really they're really interesting because we can see that Bitcoin's done basically the same pattern 3 times. So I'm expecting Bitcoin to do the exact same pattern a 4th time, because hopefully history can repeat itself a 4th time. So I'm looking at something like this, a retracement, not too far, just something, let's have a look at the retracements. So when we hit this one, we had a big retracement because of the swan, so 71% retracement. This one was 38%. And this one here, 50%. So that, let's just say we're going from 50, well, let's just go average 50% basically, because we had a few different ones. 50%. We're probably going to see a $26,000 Bitcoin when we hit there, come back down, and then grind our way back up. And once we break this trend line, that's where that's where things are going to get crazy. Guys, tell me what you think about the TA. I know a lot of that stuff was confusing. Trend-based fib time zones. There's a lot to sort of digest because they're all predictive measures of where price can be. Obviously, things can change, but the fib time zone and also the fib trend time zone has been spot on in the past. As I showcased, it has predicted major tops, major bottoms, all-time highs. Yeah, look back on how I used them. It was pretty easy. It was just measuring from all-time high to bear market bottoms, and then it sort of predicted, obviously, the future. But my two predictions right here, going out on a limb, we are going to see the exponential growth or exponential price action, which usually lasts, 3 to 4 to 5 months for Bitcoin, starting on the 29th of May, and the bear market bottom of the next cycle on the 5th of August. If we quickly look at the exponential price increase, how long did that last bull or the previous bull run? 357 days. This one was, well, we can say 259 days to that one, 470 days to that one. What I said the first one was? 470 days, 370 days. This one was, well, if we're going from here, 336 days. So, yeah, I guess it's a little bit more than 30 days. Well, why did I say 30 days originally? Oh, I think I said 3 months, but it looks like it's close to a year. So I got that first wrong. So let's go a year. Okay, we go about here. About 200 and, yeah, somewhere in between these two lines. I know it's not a whole lot to go off. We have 29th of May, exponential rise. Okay, actually, let's work backwards because the bear market bottom usually lasts a year. So let's go a year backwards. Or maybe was that the... I might have to go back to see if this bear market bottom was the actual bottom or the all-time high. I might have to get back to you guys on the next live stream with that one. I might have to recheck this secondary line. But this exponential rise is definitely on the money. All right. If you have any questions, feel free. Is there a price action on ETH because of the pending merge? I think we've already had the price action pump before the merge. But as I said, like last live stream, buy the rumor, sell the news. So, yeah, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. I think it's on the 15th or 16th of September. So we've only got a few days left. Oh, but look at this. This is something I just checked. Look at the money flow in Ethereum. Oof, going from red to green. Oh, can we get a bit more history? No, we can't. Okay, let's quickly do this. So we can see the money flow for Ethereum has gone from red to green, basically signaling the start of the next bull run. If we look at Bitcoin's history of this indicator, let me go to the BLX. Whenever the money flow has gone from red to green on a weekly scale, what has happened to the price action? Let's look at here. And that's it. Okay, we've only got 3 instances for Bitcoin. Basically the start of the bull run. Boom. This one had a slight pump, kind of went sideways, but the secondary break was back here. We started. So basically what should have happened without COVID probably would have done this. And we would have hit a higher number. But because we had the COVID crash, people had already made crazy gains. So that's 1,694. So if we take that number, 1,694, and we take it to where we, from where we should have gone, from 1,684, Bitcoin should have made, so instead of going to this low, which is the COVID low, and we take it from this low where we should have basically started the exponential rise, we only had this black swan because of COVID, and we use the same percentage increase from here to the all-time high to from here, this low, rather than this low, Bitcoin should have made it to about 117,000 this bull run, but unfortunately, because of the Black Swan event, we didn't. So things will be interesting now that sort of COVID is something that we can deal with. You can see that the money flow here on Bitcoin, we're probably a week or 2 weeks away from going to green, but we're already doing that on Ethereum. So super. Oh, look at that. It's money time. I don't know. I'm going out on a limb now. I was bearish, but I thought we'd see lower prices, but I think I could be right. Could be wrong about Bitcoin now going lower. And as I say that, Bitcoin is now having a bit of a surge. So if you are currently looking at where Bitcoin could possibly end up in this short term, let's do a quick fib retracement. I just did speak about this at the start of the stream. Fib retracement. Expect a reaction at these two prices, unless we completely blast through this, which you'll see a couple of big green wicks like so. This is where I'm going to be looking to short Bitcoin in the short term. Alrighty, that is it for the Bitcoin TA video. Thank you all for watching. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, bell button all. Jump onto the DC channel. There we go. Head to the Decrypting Crypto channel. Like us. This should be a subscribe button, but because obviously you guys are watching it from my account, give us a like, give us a subscribe, turn the notifications on, and let me know what you think about the TA. That's it from me. Enjoy your week, and I'll see you guys Wednesday for the altcoin technical analysis. If you want to get your altcoin looked at, jump on the live stream, pop it in the chat, and I'll be sure to do some TA for you. That's it from me. Enjoy your week, and I'll catch you guys soon.